like to welcome everybody that went. Thank y'all for coming down, or coming up, whichever the case may be, right? Brought some beautiful weather. Welcome to the UTC Southeast Region annual, right? We're now an annual conference. We have 8 different UTCs represented at this conference. All 8 are PI out of the Southeast region, which is really exciting. We're looking forward to the conference. I think we got something around 160 people was the last count I saw registered. We have, I lost Audrey for a minute, get her in a second, 80 or so, about 40 posters and an equivalent number of presentations. We're really excited about this conference. Really great the students are here. I think there's going to be a lot to see. You're going to get to see what's going on at some of the other universities. That's going to be pretty exciting. I'm looking forward to learning a lot as right here. I'm also looking forward to getting to know the other folks. There's some collaborative opportunities, right? I think that's part of what this conference helps bring together our teams, so we can see what other people are doing and sort of think about ways to get together. So we're really excited about this. Thank you all, again, everybody for coming. Today's event, what we're going to do is just sort of a quick overview. We have Keith Golden, who's the Commissioner of the Georgia Department of Transportation, is going to kick us off, which is going to be fantastic. We're looking forward to it. And then we're going to do a quick follow-up. Audrey, who I'll introduce in a few minutes, she'll come and we're going to do sort of how the day's going to lay out. And then we're going to ask each director from each UTC to do a quick introduction. Oh, Audrey.
Yeah.
Audrey's up here in the corner.
Good morning.
She is the one who actually knows how everything works. I do not know how anything works. I'll say all that to Audrey. So she'll make sure we get it all right. Then all the UTCs will quickly do a couple minutes so you can sort of see what each center is doing. And then we're going to do our breakouts, and Audrey will talk about that for the different session. So let me introduce Keith. Keith Golden is the Commissioner for the Georgia Department of Transportation. Right? I asked Keith if he would come and speak to us and be honest about what it is we need, what it is the DOTs need to see for the UTCs and the research at the universities. How is it the universities can help the Department of Transportation accomplish their goal? So hopefully you're not too mean, but we are looking forward to it. All right. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. You want to
make sure I can talk loud enough.
It'd be nice if you could use the mic.
I'll just stand up here.
Here's a portable.
So there's portable here.
Do you know which one?
I'll stick that one. It's easier to stay down here anyway. I don't have a great speaking voice. I am an engineer, not a public speaker. But I asked Dr. Hunter this morning, I said, "You sure you really want me to come and talk this morning?" Because to tell you a little bit about myself, I have 27 years with the Department of Transportation. Background started in planning, came up, and then moved over to the operations world. Got my master's degree from Georgia Tech in traffic engineering on the civil side. So kind of more of the operations environment. I'm the one who showed me how things work. Told them my first and only event at TRB. I went to a session at TRB, and I was so excited because we were looking at going to LED traffic signals. Went to this session, and didn't think I was going to learn today about how LEDs were working, how they were functioning around the country, what were some of the challenges in terms of implementing. And I got into the session, and they were talking about the different levels of color blindness and red spectrums, and how more research needed to be done. And I just walked away going, I don't get it. But that was important. I just didn't understand the impacts of that, why it was important, understanding that LEDs needed to be seen by people that were colorblind, and that there was a different level and all those things. So my research, I'm always challenging Georgine Deere from Georgia about, is this research a good return on investment? And that's what I'm going to really talk about today, and talk about some of the challenges I think all of you guys are going to be facing if you don't know it already. I use this as my soapbox to talk about the transportation bill and some of the things coming up. I did start at DOT about 27 years ago. And it was a very interesting thing. I've moved through the career and never envisioned being the head of the Georgia Department of Transportation. And I tell the story sometimes that my wife and I would be out walking often, and walking on the trails, and I'd be telling her about things I thought we should be doing at GDOT. And she would say, "You should be running that place." And so one day, a couple of years ago, I came home and I said, "You're not going to believe what's happened." I said, "They let the former commissioner go, and they made me the deputy commissioner and the acting commissioner." she says, why for a minute you should be running that place? I was just being the support of a wife. And so a couple months go by, and I'm acting DOT commissioner, and I come home one evening and I said, in your wildest dreams, did you think that they would ever make me the commissioner of the Georgia Department of Transportation? And she looked at me like she always does and says, I hate to tell you, you're not in my wildest dreams. So she keeps me very humbled in that area. So. But we have a long-standing commitment to transportation and planning and research. I think that's one of our focus areas. We've done a lot of work in terms of the research world, and we're going to continue to stay focused on that. But every day, as I mentioned with Georgine, we continue to say, what's the return on investment? How is this going to be something to us in the real world? I see research projects come along my desk, and I'll send them back to Georgine. Why are we doing this? Well, who needs this? Why do we need this? And usually she'll come back with some very good answer, and I'll continue to challenge her in those areas. But I think more important today, maybe more important than ever, was our limited transportation dollars. Y'all need to understand as an industry what the challenges are facing the larger DOTs. We are one of the biggest states east of the Mississippi. In fact, most people say Georgia is the largest state east of the Mississippi River in terms of land mass. We have over 18,000 centerline miles that we maintain, 48,000 centerline miles, 48,000 lane miles that we maintain, and our state has about 120,000 miles of roadway in the state between our cities, counties, and our DOT. We're a big state, and we have also one of the lowest investments in transportation, oftentimes considered one of the 2 or 3 lowest investments in transportation infrastructure. So we need your help to figure out how to make our dollars go further, both on the construction side, both on the planning side, the risk management side. I think that's probably the area that's growing the most in asset management. And I saw looking through the presentation, there's areas that hit on all of those things. But more important than ever, we've got to figure out how to make our assets go further and go longer. If you aren't aware of what's going on in Washington, let me step back to, I was going to mention our staffing levels. We also have to do that with less employees. In 1972, the Georgia DOT had over 9,000 employees to maintain that system we talked about. At the time, it was about 35,000 lane miles. Today, we have 4,100 employees, managing about 48,000 lane miles, as I mentioned. So we have to do less with more, just like you're having to do less with more in the research world. So we need tools to make us more efficient. And we use the word more effective. But we've got to be more effective with our limited dollars. Efficient can be, move from A to B to C to D. I've got to be more effective with my limited transportation dollars than ever. In Georgia, we spend about $1 billion on capital construction and capital maintenance. We spend about $2.2 billion as our total program for the state of Georgia. Very small investments in transportation for a state our size, but we need to make it effective when we do it. Why our research is critical, though, is again, to try to extend the life of those assets, get the risk management tools that are out there to make sure that we're doing the best we can. I mentioned, if you're not familiar with what's going on in Washington, though, the biggest threat, both to research and both the transportation funding in the very short term, is the lack of a transportation bill. I'm not sure if y'all followed in the last transportation bill, which was MAP 21. A lot of people refer to it as a 2-3-5 bill. It was a 2-year transportation bill. It took them 3 years to write the bill. It takes 5 years to implement the bill, but unfortunately it expires this September 30th of this year. And what does that mean to a state like Georgia and many of the other states too in this room? Florida's made a little bit different. They have a much bigger transportation program than most of the other southeastern states, but they still have about 35% of their program comes from the federal government. In Georgia, about 74% of our program comes from the federal dollars that we send to Washington. If you don't really know how the federal program works, the 18.4 cents that we send gas tax on a gallon of gas goes to Washington, and traditionally they send it back. And most of the states in this room here have traditionally been donor states. Not donor states today, though, because Congress is borrowing money to keep the transportation fund artificially capped up at a bigger number. And so this year alone, the Highway Trust Fund that we operate under is probably going to go insolvent. I saw Friday afternoon, probably as early as late July or mid-August, meaning that the federal dollars to fund the current transportation bill are going to be dry by a couple of weeks. Not a lot of states can actually continue to cash flow their program. So Arkansas actually stopped 10 active construction projects last week, which is big, that 10 active construction projects. So that is going to have a rippling effect through all of the sectors of transportation funding, including research. So a quick overview of kind of how that works. In Georgia, I'll just use Georgia as an example. We talked about, Georgia said, don't we have the money set aside? But if we authorize a project to go with Dr. Hunter here at Georgia Tech, and we're using federal dollars of some sort, whether it's SPR funds or whatever, Georgia DOT sets aside 20%, so it's usually it's an 80-20 match. We set aside 20% of our state motor fuel dollars, and we book the 80% federal dollars as a receivable. We're assuming we're going to get paid that back for good faith and credit of the federal government. What they're telling us is that sometime in a couple of weeks, when the trust fund drops below $4 billion, they're going to start reducing the actual payments back to states, maybe even starting to reduce the number of times typically they reimburse weekly. They're going to start doing probably every 2 to 3 weeks until the trust fund becomes stable. So that's something y'all all need to be working focused on and making sure that you're watching in your state how it might impact your programs. It's certainly going to have an impact on Georgia DOT if they don't do something in Washington in the next few weeks. We just came back from Washington in late February, and we heard from Senator Barbara Boxer and Schuster on the House transportation side, and everybody's aware of the problem. No one has a solution to fix it. The problem really is they've spent more money than they're taking in. And so that's why the trust fund is becoming insolvent at a faster rate. The money coming in does not support the actual commitments that they already have on the street. In order to make that whole this coming year, they would need $19 billion infusion of cash. The following year, they would need another $16 billion. So for the next 2 years, just to get us through 2 more years of transportation bill, they need about $35 billion. And to do a 6-year transportation bill, which is really what a state needs, a long-term transportation bill, they need about $100 billion, in addition to the 18.4 cents that's going into the trust fund. So what does that mean? There's really 3 solutions I think they're kind of emerging up in Washington. One is that they need to raise the gas tax, the federal gas tax, 10 to 12 cents a gallon. That's probably not going to happen. I don't think anybody, both Schuster and Boxer, said that's not going to happen in their committees. So that's probably not a good solution. The other solution that's out there is obviously we're only going to spend what comes in the trust fund. We're only going to spend the dollars that comes into the trust fund. Well, what does that mean for fiscal year 15? I told you it's already going to be insolvent, the trust fund, sometime late this summer. What that actually means is in federal year 15, which starts October 1st, if they chose that option, Georgia DOT would not be able to authorize any new federal projects for the whole fiscal year 2015. That would mean we wouldn't start any PE, we wouldn't start any design, we wouldn't buy any right away, we wouldn't go to construction with any projects. It would be devastating both to our academic sector, to our public sector, to our contractors in the state of Georgia. Big challenges on all fronts in terms of transportation dollars. Coming in July of this year, Georgia DOT, we're going to stop authorizing any federal projects at all until we see some sort of certainty of what's going on in the federal program. Both Schuster and Boxer also said that they would have a bill sometime late this summer. But they were going to leave how much money and how it would be funded to the Ways and Means Committee, throw it over the wall, let them try to find the money. That's the biggest challenge. That's finding that delta of the 19 to 20 billion. That's just to keep funding at its current level, not to increase transportation funding. That's just to keep it at its current level. And no one really has that solution. You've heard the president's kind of talk throughout a bill that wants to raise transportation funding, but he has no method or proposal for how to fund it. He talks about repatronizing profits from overseas and bringing them back in over a short period of time, over like an 8-year period. That doesn't really solve the transportation problem. I think next year it brings in about $5 billion when they actually need about $19 billion. So again, huge differentials in transportation funding. So I think y'all, as an industry, you need to make sure you're watching very closely what's going on, pushing your congressman to get us a long-term transportation bill that we can all do better planning, future planning for what we need to be able to do. And more importantly, I think just give us some stability over the next few years, because it brings us back to what I started with here. Is I think more important than ever, now than ever, is what you're doing is going to play into DOTs and how we run. You're going to have to help us to figure out how to make our assets go better, how to utilize our assets better, how to make better risk management decisions, how to be able to make sure we're making the best investments to get the best return on investment, whether it's traffic signals or planning or whatever that function may be, transit or pedestrian safety, whatever those things are, we're going to have to figure out how to make sure we get the best return on investment. I think that's from someone who sits where I sit today, the biggest challenge is, convincing folks like myself who are more of operations men. We're more of a let's hurry up and do things, and research takes time, and you need to get to the conclusion. So I think we've got to figure out how to marry those two needs to make sure that we're getting the best return on investment of our limited transportation dollars. And I think that as long as both sides understand what the end goal is, I think we can actually get to that very quickly. I know Georgine and I'll see these research projects and I'll say, why are we doing this? Why are we spending $140,000 for this? And she usually can come back with a very good basis for why we're doing it. But my question for her in the future is going to be, how long is it going to take to implement this? What's going to be our, I hate to say return on investment, what are we going to see out of this research investment? Not because we have SDR funds that are set aside and have to go to research, what's the benefit to the system, the transportation system. So I think we all have some very unique challenges moving forward. I think that there's great opportunity, though, in the research world to maximize that and help us get where we need to be. And I will finish up with that by saying that, to me, I told Georgine that we were sending more people to TRB. I think probably this year, not as many as we've sent last few years. The Transportation Research Board and some of the other functions. I think we all recognize that research has got to be something that would make the investment in, even though at a time when dollars get tight, that's one of the first things you want to cut. That and a few other categories and stuff. But at this time, I think we're really going to have to make good investments in research and continue our levels of research. I asked Georgine and Georgia, we've been pretty consistent in our investment dollars. I think we'll continue to do that. And with that, Dr. Hunter, I'll turn it back over to you.
Thank you so much. Does anybody have any questions?
Yeah, Keith, why hasn't GDOT allowed Atlanta to put senior zone signs up on state highways in the city of Atlanta?
Ask the question again.
Why has GDOT not allowed the city of Atlanta to put up senior zone signs on state highways in the city of Atlanta?
Senior zone.
Yes.
I'm not familiar with an issue of them requesting it or them being turned down.
Your representative to the Senior Zone Implementation Committee said no, no, no. And the city has requested it.
I'll follow up on that, George. I'm not really familiar, first I've heard of it. So.
Yes, I'd like to ask if you've done any research to show if a sales tax on motor fuel or a sales tax on all goods and services would be more of a dynamic funder of transportation than the per gallon motor fuel tax.
We're actually partnering with Georgia Tech
seem
to
to be
follow up.
stuck in that.
Yeah, Georgia passed three regions passed about a year ago this, what we call the Transportation Investment Act, where we had 46 counties that agreed to do a 1% sales tax to go back into transportation. And we've actually teamed up to research that with Georgia Tech to see kind of what has it done to the economy and all this. What we're trying to do is make that strong case that dollar grew the community. Not so much, it's obvious that the dollar came, we can track the dollars, but what did it do to the community? Did it provide safer areas? Did it provide business development or economic development opportunities? Did it bring in new industries that didn't exist before? And that really just started that research. But I think that around the country, my thing, we had a legislature that made the argument that a sales tax, gas tax should pay for roads, not a sales tax, not a loaf of bread. That's his exact answer. And I've gone back to him several times, and I said, he's actually a representative of North Georgia. I said, you kind of got this wrong. Every commodity travels on the transportation system many times. There's an embedded cost to move a product even if it's a piece of bread from the field to the manufacturing back to the grocery store shelves at the Walmart or the Kroger or whatever it may be, or the Publix. There's an embedded transportation tax. So we have to make a better business case that transportation and sales tax probably is the better long-term strategy as opposed to motor fuel, which obviously is not going to be a sustainable model as vehicles become more fuel efficient, electric vehicles and all these other alternatives that are out there. It's not a sustainable method for continuing transportation unless you just keep raising it. But there's no will to raise it here in Georgia or nationally. I don't think even the public votes overwhelmingly that they don't support raising the gas tax.
I think both the state and the federal government are constrained by the per gallon motor fuel tax. I think it's antiquated personally. And I'd love to see a more dynamic model put forward at the state level as well as the federal level. And good luck with that.
Yeah, our legislature passed another study committee to be done this summer because it's an election year, so it's study committee, and we'll have the findings this year. But we're going to be pushing several different concepts to the level we can. We're not really allowed to really push a whole lot on transportation funds. We're going to give them ideas about what's the best solutions. I know Arkansas had a great bill last about a year ago where they've got a half-cent sales tax for 10 years dedicated to transportation. Florida's got some programs like that. And I think that, Senator Boxer, again, she talked about DMT being, the future of transportation funding. And I think that may be still part of the solution in the future, but we're not ready. Even she admits it's not ready for prime time yet. Certainly not in the South. So.
Mr. Golden, thank you for your remarks. Red Silver at the University of Kentucky. I know we're at a research conference, but I wondered if you might make just a comment or two about what I consider to be one of the most important products of our research, and that is the development of future leaders. As you pointed out here, Congress is stuck. I think we need to get more engineers out there like yourself. You have an advanced degree.
Sure.
Could you please say a word about that?
Sure. I think the industry, certainly, I'll just use Georgia DOT as an example. We talked about our depth of our organization too, and that future depth, and we talked about our benches getting a little light. And what are we going to do to bring more people into the transportation field? And we're over here, I think we're actually coming over again to try to recruit. But I think when you look at leadership skills, and certainly when you talk about engineers and leadership, there's usually a disconnect too. You have people that are more technically oriented that really don't want to manage people. We have some great engineers that aren't skilled at that. But I think as an agency like a DOT, we can go in and find those people who have the multi-purpose opportunities and work with them to develop it. And we're committed to, we have something called succession planning we brought into Georgia DOT, where we take people that apply to be in the program. And we actually spend about 18 months with them, working with them to develop them to be the future leaders of DOT. We're probably going to have to expand that even further to continue that program, because one of the things at Georgia DOT we saw a few years ago when the industry was really good, we lost a whole layer of what I call our top engineers. They all went to the private sector. So we have what I call a void, in our structure. We've got some great young engineers. We've got some pretty good guys still at the top of our. But there's that group of maybe 10 to 18 years experience in transportation just doesn't exist right now. And they're not coming back to DOT, even though the economy in the private sector is a little tight. We can't afford them anymore. Their salaries and compensation have stretched ours out. But we actually have had a few people come back to DOT. I should say that. We've had some great DOT. Bain Smith, Bain up in the private sector about 10 years and got tired of the travel and decided to be one of our industry engineers. But something that's going to be a challenge for all DOT.
Jeff Brown, Alabama DOT. We've been reluctant to go with design build. What is your outlook on it?
We are moving more and more towards it in Georgia. We have probably about a handful of projects under design build right now. In fact, our largest project in our history, we just led a few months ago now. Our Northwest Corridor project is about a 600, total project cost is in the neighborhood of $800 million is a design build project. We've led another one on the south side, about a $175 million design build project. We are learning as we go, though. A lot of our design build projects, we've hit some hiccups and stuff. But I think delivering the program quickly and getting those savings, embedded savings, between the contractor and the designers working together, is where Georgia DOT is certainly moving in that direction. We are seeing lower than expected cost in some of those areas. Time will tell whether we're really going to save any dollars at the end of these projects. But I can tell you Georgia DOT is probably going to see, you're probably going to see 20 to 30% of our program be design build.
Thank you.
Sure. Joel Volinski, University of South Florida. If you're familiar, could you tell us a little bit about the process that the department uses with the UTCs here in Georgia to help identify the projects that they will do that will hopefully help the department accomplish its goals?
Well, fortunately, you let us be on the council. We're actually on the voting member of the UTC, right? So we're very fortunate to have a seat on the UTC. Actually, a couple of people on the side. But generally, it's the traditional planning process. Right? We're looking at projects that come through. Georgie can probably answer that probably better than me. But the process of identifying the projects and then rating them. I mean, we're a part of the rating process. I've rated some of the projects myself, so if you want to.
Yes, through the UTC, we would work, we have what we call research technical advisory groups. And that is the folks in the offices that are part of these groups, and they're aligned with our strategic goals. So we have an asset management RTAG, that's what we call research technical advisory group RTAG. We have a workforce policy RTAG. We have a mobility RTAG. We have a safety RTAG. And so they're aligned around our strategic goals. So we work through those groups. And we try to get ideas from those people that are, in the trenches and provide that information also to the universities of, what our needs are. So we're trying to, balance it both ways.
Is there any more questions? I will ask one on funding. So where do PPPs fall on all this too? Is Georgia, GDOT been successful in that? Is that
Yeah, and again, public-private partnerships, again, probably take on many different opportunities. Our Northwest Corridor project is a public-private partnership. We are not doing what we traditionally, a concessionaire model though. Our governor's not really supportive of turning it over to a company to run, maintain, operate, design, build, maintain, and operate. He's more in the design, build, and we're using the finance component of what our Georgia DOT legislation allows us in public-private partnership. We're allowing them to bring gap financing to the project, and we'll be paying them out over time to do some things under the P3 rule. But previously, our design build legislation did not allow best value. We were still a low bid state in our design build. We also got that legislation changed, so that's not really conducive very well to design build. To still have a low bid environment, because pretty much you can't take innovation into consideration in their proposals. You basically are saying, here's your 30% plans, you're bidding this. And so we got that done, but our P3 legislation did allow best value. And so that's probably the reason we were able to get into our traditional design build legislation, is they could bring innovation to us, and we could say, we agree with that, and you can include that in your bid, but not share that with your competition. And so that's been the biggest value for us in P3. But we have other public-private partnerships, things like crash reporting, crash records, where we outsourced that years ago. And the private sector does that for us. It used to cost the state about $1.4, $1.5 million a year to process 350,000 crash reports we have up here. And we work with the private sector, and now they pay us to do it. So we save state general funds, and we actually generate revenue, and they actually automated it, electronic crash reports. And they're not all just road building and concessionaire models either. So different levels and different layers of that. So we have our HERO program, our Highway Emergency Response Operator program, where a couple of years ago we actually got sponsorship from State Farm, and a lot of states do that. But they bring up roughly $1.8 million a year to match our federal dollars. So we don't do the state matching more. They do it as a quasi-public-private partnership. But on the road building side, our governor is very slow to embrace the concept of truly concessionaire, letting the private sector come in and maintain, operate, and build this. Well, thank you. Thank you.
Audrey Lewis. I'm sure all of you saw my name in your email inbox. I apologize for bombarding you. I just wanted to run through a couple logistical things, and if any point during the next couple of days you have any questions, please feel free to let me know. I'll help you out as best I can. So we have concurrent sessions this morning, this afternoon, and tomorrow morning. The room numbers are listed in your program, but just so that you know, immediately following this is operations and management in this room, and bike ped is in room 222, so those are the morning sessions. There were a few changes that occurred after the program was printed, and I have signs. I think there's one at the top of the stairs, another one at the bottom of the stairs that has those changes. There's just a few, but a few speaker updates. So please check that, and I'll have the moderators announce those as well. Hopefully all of you got some food this morning. There's a food break area at the end of the hallway here in the second floor, and it's there all day, so please feel free to go there at any point. There's going to be a break this morning, and there's a break this afternoon, so you'll have time to go, but please enjoy that. It's actually really good food, so if you like that. Lunch today is on the first floor in the atrium. The reception this evening is here on the second floor, but lunch tomorrow is just next door at the Georgia Tech Hotel in the ballroom. And we'll have a volunteer directing traffic so that you can find that room. Restrooms are located just outside of this door. So if you exit either door, you kind of head right there towards the registration desk, and right there. Oh, we are video recording both in this room and in the other room, so presenters will have about 20 minutes to do their presentation and take questions. So if you're asking a question, please make sure that you use the microphone so that we can capture that. We are offering free Wi-Fi access for these next 2 days. If you didn't already get information on that, they're located at the back of this room, and I think there's also printouts at the information table. Let me know again if you have any questions about anything. A reminder to presenters, please report to your room at least 15 minutes ahead of time to load your presentation. And that's it for now. We're going to have all of the UTC directors do a brief overview of their UTC. We have the clip-on microphone and this handheld one, but I thought it might be easier if you all use this because there's so many of you. So that's it, and again, welcome. We're so glad to have all of you here. Thank you.
I hope you can see it's not me up there. Anyway, my name is Albert Gain. I'm a professor of transportation engineering at Burak International University. Our center director is actually Dr. Arturo Zizi Namini. He apologized for not being able to be here this morning. Our center names is quite simple. It's easy as ABC. It's with the bridge construction, UTC, and it's a Tier 1 UTC from the last year competitions on the state of Puerto Rico. The FIU, or Florida International University, is the lead university. We have 2 other members, Iowa State University and also University of Nevada at Reno. I'm not going to read you the center missions, and basically all UTC have the same focuses: research, workforce development, as well as technology transfer, except that our emphasis here is on ABC, bridge constructions. We do have, as one of our first activities, we do have a national conference coming up in Miami in December. And I can guarantee you that December in Miami, the weather is going to be better than here. Also, the call for abstracts is still in about 4 days. I hope some of you can join us and submit an abstract. I'll let your colleagues know. And, the conference is sponsored by 28 state DOTs, and we do have the URL there, and if you want to write it down. Okay. That's all I have. I'm told we have 2 minutes. I'm not going to answer any questions.
Good morning. My name is John Sobanjo. I'm a professor of civil engineering from Florida State University. And our center is made up of FSU as the lead university with Florida A&M and University of North Florida as the partners. As you can see, our focus is on transportation safety and accessibility with focus on the elderly population. We just got this award last year, and so far we've had about 8 research projects ongoing across the universities, and also we had a very good advisory board from private, state, and city agencies. So far we're doing okay. As you can see, we have 4 focus areas. One is the safety for transportation of adults, also accessibility and urban planning. We also have issues with geometric design and also safety and health issues. So basically that's what we're doing. And it's been a very good experience so far. We're cooperating with the Florida DOT as a major partner. And we have different departments at FSU, UNF, and Florida A&M. If you have any questions.
Yes, I have a question. What's the address to send to you?
Okay, we have your website. Can you go back?
I don't ask you, I want the physical address so I can send a letter.
Okay. To make it sure, the website has our address. That's what I'm trying to tell you. If you link the address, or if you want, I can give you right now.
That's what I want.
Okay. Is Department of Civil Engineering, Florida State University, 2525 Potsdamer, that's Pottsdamer Street, room 129, Tallahassee, A1, Florida 32310.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Richard Rostad. I'm with the Florida Solar Energy Center, and I'm excited to introduce to you the Electric Vehicle Transportation Center. Our center was established late last year in October. It's directed by Dr. David Burak. Our university partners are the University of Central Florida and the Florida Solar Energy Center, Tuskegee University in Alabama, and the University of Hawaii at NOAA. You can see our research areas include policies and standards regarding electric vehicles, subsystems, and EV supply equipment. Special EV applications, for example, V2G is becoming big, and the Florida Solar Energy Center works with buildings, so we're interested in connecting electric vehicles to buildings to see what more can be done. And of course, the social and technical aspects of electric vehicles. In the center of the slide, you see a PV-assisted electric vehicle charging station at the University of Central Florida. In the lower right, you see an electric bus, which is Tallahassee's Star Metro bus system. They have 5 electric buses with a range of 30 miles. The route is 20 miles. They have a high-speed charging station centrally located to their bus routes, so any electric vehicles, electric buses can go their route, quickly charge there in about 15 minutes, and pick right back up and go the entire day. I think that's about all I have time for. Any quick questions I could cover? I want to thank Georgia for giving Florida a single slide.
Good morning, my name is Burak Eksioglu. I'm in Industrial Systems Engineering at Mississippi State University. I am also the director of NCITEC, which stands for National Center for Intermodal Transportation for Economic Competitiveness. We are one of the Tier 1 UTCs founded in 2012. Mississippi State is the lead institution. We have 4 partners: University of Denver, University of Mississippi, Hampton University in Virginia, and Louisiana State University. Our theme is essentially the development of an efficient, secure, sustainable intermodal transportation system for freight and passenger mobility. We currently have about 60 projects, ongoing projects that were selected during the last 2 years. A lot of those projects are interdisciplinary. We have folks from not only civil engineering, industrial engineering, but also psychology, sociology, education. We do have some electrical engineers also conducting projects. And that's all I have.
Good morning, I'm Joel Volinski, the Director of the National Center for Transit Research at the University of South Florida. We are a center within a center. We're within the Center for Urban Transportation Research there. That's been operating since 1989. We have been a federally funded UTC since 1991. And we've been fortunate to have prevailed in all the competitions that have been held since the year 2002 when they started competing for Tier 1 UTCs. Our mission, as you could guess by the title of our UTC, is to deal with public transportation and with alternative forms of transportation. And our goal is to help improve the performance and relevance of those forms of transportation. The work we do is applied virtually always, probably 95% applied. So as the Commissioner with Georgia said, you know, they need answers to issues that they're dealing with right now. And we work as closely as we can with the Florida Department of Transportation, who's been great enough to provide the match to our grants over the years. Excuse me. Had a rough spring season down where I live in South Florida. Now I come up here, I get to enjoy it all over again with the allergies. But in any event, our center is structured a little bit differently than a lot of other centers because we have no tenured faculty. We're all not tenured. And so, as they say in the world of consultants, you get to kill what you eat. It's all soft money. You go out and find contracts, and we've done that. We do somewhere in the range of about $14 million a year worth of research these days. Of course, we work with students and help prepare them for their profession going forward. And we do a lot in technology transfer. We have a number of clearinghouses and listservs where we connect up to 10,000 professionals around the world in various subjects such as alternative fuels and geographic information systems and transportation demand management and transit safety. So while we do a lot of research, we also do a lot of information sharing and work with the students as well. I doubt if there's any time for questions, but if there is anyone, I'll be here all 2 days. Okay, thank you.
Hello again, I'm Michael Hunter. I'm the director of the National Center for Transportation Systems Productivity and Management. We too have one slide, and you have 5 centers in Florida. You win. Congratulations. Our center focuses on economic competitiveness, state of good repair, and safety. We're a 2012 center, so we've been at this for a couple of years now. We have over 40 projects currently ongoing. As you can see, we have our Wordle that covers all the different things that we're covering in our center. We've got performance, state of repair, clearly, but we're very much about being applied. We're very much about using data to solve problems. So you see data-driven pops up, right? These are keywords on different projects. Planning, traffic, management, safety, clearly. So we're very much a center about applied, about trying to solve the problems we have, but also about looking forward to what is the future going to be? What does the future transportation system need to be effective, to be efficient? So, I should always say Georgia Tech, FIU UAB, and UCF are our partners, all represented, and thank you all very much.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Elefteriadou. University of Florida. I'm a professor and the director of the University of Florida Transportation Institute. Our center is STRIDE, Southeast Transportation Research, Innovation, Development and Education Center. And the credit for that nice acronym goes to Nagy Rafael and Daniel Rodriguez, who came up with it when we were preparing our proposal. Our focus is safety, livable communities, and economic competitiveness. We got started in 2012. Our partners are listed over there: Auburn, FIU, Georgia Tech, Mississippi State, NC State, University of Alabama at Birmingham, and University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. And one of the key characteristics for the center has been collaboration, and we've done a lot to encourage collaboration between proposals or between universities. All our proposals, all our projects, the vast majority of them are collaborative. And I need to say that this conference got started from the steering committee, the STRIDE steering committee, a couple of years ago when we were considering putting a conference together for Stride, and we decided to open it up, and we had the first one last year in Orlando, and I'm very pleased that we're continuing that annual tradition, and I invite UTC directors who are interested in hosting next year, we're still looking for a host for next year, to volunteer. I think it's a great event, and thank you, Georgia Tech, and Mike for hosting us.
Dr. Richards is supposed to introduce the Southeastern Transportation Center, but can't see that here. Well, I'll go ahead and read the slide. Dr. Stephen Richards is the director of the Southeastern Transportation Center, and I haven't heard from him. Perhaps he was delayed with his travel. But they won the competition last year. University of Tennessee is the lead, and we have University of Alabama, UAB, UCF, USF, University of Kentucky, North Carolina, E&T State University, UNC Chapel Hill, and Clemson are their partners. I don't know what they specialize in, but I'm sure they do some great work. Safety. Yeah, there you go, yeah, comprehensive transportation safety, established in 1995. I'm sorry that I don't have any more information on them, but like I said, I think he was planning on being here at the conference, so if you have any questions, hopefully he will come today or tomorrow. That is all that I have planned for this opening session. Mike, I don't know if there's anything else you wanted to say. Does anyone have any questions about the conference, any of these UTCs? Looks like not. So we have a little bit of a break between now and when the first session starts. We're planning on starting at 9:30. And like I said, operations and management is in this room. Mike Head is in 222.